Namaskar and hello, and welcome to day two of 18th World Education Summit. This is the day two, and yesterday we have a full day of the thoughtful session. And starting with the today session, we are have a exclusive session on assessment, creative thinking, and social emotion well-being by Dr. Amrita Vohra, Director Education, GEMS India, and exclusive principal, GEMS International School, Gurgaon. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you, Krishna, and very warm welcome to all the fellow educators present here, all the parents present here, and other dignitaries. When Elets discussed with me what is it that I would like to talk about, I think the one thing that always comes to my mind is assessment. And why so is because from assessment flows everything else that we do within education. We have been only concentrating very largely on the cognitive side of learning. We have been largely thinking only about, and within cognition also, we have only been speaking very much to the lower levels of the Bloom's taxonomy. And the reason is the way our assessment models function. The obsession with marks does not go away. Even when you convert them into grades, it is very much the same thing. What's needed, and urgently so, is a paradigm shift. From a paradigm which is to do with typecasting, which is to do with currently putting on labels such as somebody is smart, somebody is not smart, somebody is good at a certain subject, somebody is not so good at a certain subject, based on how much they scored or what grade was assigned to them for certain skills. Thankfully, we have moved on, at least within CBSE, and there are other international curricula which do talk about, other than marks, which do talk about competencies and skills rather than marks. But there is still a long way to go. I think what we need to move towards, if we really want children to be seen as children rather than purely a collection of percentages. I think they are still seen like that. The minute a school may be doing hundreds of things, but the minute it comes to the higher classes, the board exams, and then the education, university selection, etc., it all once again boils down to that one thing called marks and grades, and you have those cutoffs. I'm happy to know that within the national education policy, the vision is beautiful. It is talking about student agency. It is talking about moving away from this very regimentative sort of a process. So let's come together as educators. I want to use this platform to do that. Let's come together and build a paradigm where children are seen as whole beings, where children not only are able to nurture their intelligence in terms of their academic know-how, they also are able to nurture their social intelligences, their emotional intelligences and well-being, their creative intelligences. None of us know, given the pace of change all around us, none of us know what will the world look like 5 years from now. We don't need any longer to tell them or teach them whatever is probably written in the books or information per se. What we need them to know and to learn is how to learn. What we really need them to be able to cope with is the resilience needed to cope with the various challenges that life will throw at them. What we need them to develop is a sheer love for reading and learning, so that at any point in time they can unlearn and relearn, so that at any point in time they can act like compassionate, and that is important, compassionate thinking individuals. That is what we want to move towards. So if that is what we're looking at, then this regime needs to change. Then a lot of the structure of the way we work with children, the way we look at the entire system of education needs to change. What we need to build into it very, very strongly and firmly will be student voice and choice. We say this over and again in our schools and across the globe. I think a lot of progressive schools are already in this model, working with this model and doing this. Some of the things that are really, really useful I'd like to share here. One is drama in education. I have been always a proponent of drama in education. If our classroom, which if you go by the words of Maria Montessori, is anyway a dramatic presentation, or a lesson is anyway a dramatic presentation, then there needs to be some drama. Why will the child be just looking at something which is very uninteresting? Just a lecture like this, a one-way process doesn't work in a classroom per se. A classroom needs to have drama, which is not again teacher-led, not again an artist-led, drama which involves everybody, drama which the entire classroom creates together, which they improvise together, they dig into, inquire into a certain topic and explore it with endless questions of inquiry, immerse into it, and then find out. They learn through that experience. That experience builds on what real learning will be. It does not only nurture their knowledge per se, it will be much more naturally, because textbook will remain just one source, it's just one resource. There's so many more that need to be explored. And when we allow for that free space, that is when learning genuinely happens. Let's look at how we all learn to walk again. Just taking one example. You keep trying, you keep exploring, you keep thinking, if I try this, will it work? If I try that, will it work? And you don't bother, you just go ahead and try. Nobody's telling you, if you walk, then I will give you so much, or I will give you a chocolate. If you walk from here to here, if you are able to do this today, there is no reward or punishment involved here. Every time you fall, there is probably someone, if you're lucky, there is someone helping you get up. Not always though, and that also helps. That's important. Now, if we are able to build that into everyday learning, that is important. Just think about when you learn to walk, how many times do you fall? There is no count to it. And later, this idea of falling while you're trying to do something, or erring while you're trying to do something, or trying to learn something, becomes coded as failure. That word, oh my God, it got so much of negative connotation attached to it. Till the time that remains so, we are never going to learn. That no failure idea, no failure paradigm needs to be created. When we say no failure, it does not mean that failure will not happen. There can be no learning without falling. But let's call it falling, not failure. Well, let's call it even better, as Harold Dweck has taught us, not yet. If you've not been able to gain something, do something, accomplish something so far, you're not going to give up. It's not like you can't do it. You can, but you haven't been able to do it yet. It's not yet. There is a power to the not yet, but there is no power to failure. You've not yet been able to walk, but you are trying and you will. Similarly, you're probably not yet able to solve that math problem, but you're trying and you will. Maybe your friend has already solved it. You can check out what they did about it. And maybe there is a strategy out there which is useful. You'll try and use it and adopt it. You not being able to do it as quickly as your friend did should not become a marker to say, or a reason for anybody to make a judgment that, you know, than you are, or better at math than you are. We need to move this out of the system completely. Every child within the environment is different. Every child is unique. Every child has unique needs, and we all while we are so similar and beautifully together, we all are different in numberless ways. And we all need different aspects, different strategies, different support, different upbringing. And we come with different environments. So within the school, this personalization for each one is more than necessary, and we need to make it happen. How do we do it? Again, when we include aspects like, well, blended learning is being implemented now by endless schools. The pandemic made it happen in so many ways for all of us. It opened the eyes for so many who weren't earlier ready to accept this change, probably. But yes, technology does help provide a lot of personalization as and when needed. We have been using, for instance, branching questions within MCQs very, very efficiently at our school. There are MCQs now. The kind of error each child makes within the MCQ can really tell a teacher a lot about what is it that this child is confused about. If they're confused about X, they will they will reach Y conclusion or choose X option or Y option. From that, you can branch out another MCQ, which will help them really why this didn't work and why there was this confusion. And there, there we find it easier to reach out to the specific needs of every child. Individualized education plans are necessary for certain children who will need more support. These could be so-called gifted and talented students in the class, or so-called children with special needs in the class. I think everybody actually is gifted and talented, and I think everybody has special needs in the class. But then, yes, everybody needs some different planning, and that needs to be in place. Now, within this planning, can it be one-sided? No. Can it be decided just by the teacher or an inclusive manager or an educator? No. It needs to be a collaborative effort. It needs to be something that the parent, the teacher, the head of school, everybody, the various subject teachers, everybody comes together to decide. Most importantly, the person who needs to be part of this decision making or designing of this IEP needs to be the child who's at the center. So it's important to bring children again to the center of the learning process. Now, how do we do that? We've all been saying it, but I think classrooms transcended space and time completely for the very first time during this pandemic. And we have seen the sheer importance of the culture that is built around in the school and the impact that student agency can really have. If students take ownership of their own learning, they will learn, no matter what the circumstances, no matter who is on the other side of the train. And now the big question is, how do we make students take ownership of their own learning? What helps students develop this? Couple of strategies, there are endless things to do, but couple of strategies that I would share here. Lots and lots, of course, happens, and the most important strategy is the culture of the school. Every person within the school, right from that security guard, the minute you enter a school, the feeling has to be that every person is important and every person is respected and equally so, and everybody loves and admires and helps and supports each other. Once that is there and you manage to build that, from there begin the various strategies also. Now, teachers need to have some space for creative exploration for their own work. They need to be able to create or design their plans with some creative independence. That's important too. And I think the best plans come out of that. Best actual lessons, not just plans on paper, come out of that. And children similarly need to have that same creative space. The choice as to this is what I want to learn and this is not what I want to learn right now, why and why not. The discussions around it, the deliberations about it, and this is what I want to explore much more so. This free space to be able to explore all these needs to be provided within that same structure. After all, we don't want an assembly line. If we don't, then everyone is different. Then why give them, no, you know what, this is the syllabus, this is what you got to learn, and here it is, and that's that. The matter ends here. You're not studying anything else. You're not going to, budge and prepare this well, learn it well, and I'll keep taking exam after exam after exam on this. It doesn't work. It may fetch you marks, it will not fetch you learning. When needed, maybe for board exams, etc., we can do those preparations also. But what is really need throughout the learning time, right from early childhood up till we reach that stage where we have to also tackle an exam, and therefore we need probably some examination skills, and that's not such a big deal. I mean, you can teach it in a few months at max. But throughout, what's really needed is the child taking ownership, the child setting goals, the child developing a growth mindset. And what helps the child develop all of this is the way the entire assessment system is structured in the school. Now, how do we do that? Everything that the child writes in a notebook, every assignment, everything that happens in the classroom needs to be self-assessed, needs to be peer assessed, and then reach the teacher. Now, how would a child be equipped enough to be able to do this self-assessment or peer assessment and so on? It needs to be seen, it needs to be ensured that the children have sufficient exemplars. It also needs to be ensured that children know exactly what the learning intentions are, exactly what the success criteria are as expected by the teacher, and then they can fill it out. They should also be allowed to choose as to which learning intention is it that they would like to explore first. Would they like to add to that? Would they like to change a little and add something and here and there? Another important thing, the learning intentions cannot be confined again to purely cognitive intentions or cognitive domain. We need to remember the psychomotor domain as well, the affective domain as well, or the social emotional aspects of learning as well. Now, what is it that is ensuring that the child is also achieving that kind of a learning intention? That conscious effort needs to be there. It cannot be confined to maybe a moral science class. It needs to be built into every concept in the core subjects that are part of the school curriculum. Now, how do we do that? One is, of course, exemplars and ability to strategize, voice and choice integrated every stage of teaching learning process. Alongside that, there is something which works pretty well. It's called Sid Marking. We do part-time marking also. But essentially, every time a child looks at their own work, we want to develop some metacognitive abilities. We want to develop this growth mindset. And so they identify in their own work the strengths. This is my strength. This is something I've done really well. I'm happy about this. Why do I think so? If I think this is my strength, then why do I think so? That why is equally important. That why will mean that they need to dig out evidences from the exemplars, evidences from the discussions with peers and the teacher, maybe parents and other people around, which make them feel that yes, this is good, this is my strength. Then there will be areas of improvement or yellow boxes. I'm not doing this part so well yet. I need to make this better. So this is my yellow box. I'm not yet there on this. Now, if I've identified my yellow box, I've identified the errors also, which are just errors, as simple as that. And the error, oh, okay, this went wrong. Could be careless mistake, could be any other reason for the error. What was it? Okay, why did I get it wrong? That's important. If there was something wrong, then what is it that I'm now, next steps, what is it that I'm doing to rectify this? The third is the D in Sid Marking is development. Now I know this is what I need to work on. What do I do to achieve that? Now, what is it that I need to explore? What could be my task for development? A teacher could help here. A teacher, once the child is already identified and the child knows, okay, this is what I've done now, I need to figure out how do I work on this? How do I need support? A peer could help here, a teacher could help here. Ideally, by the time a Sid marked assignment reaches the teacher, it's already aligned. The child is already aware where the concerns are. It's also important to, we've all heard, we don't learn just from experiences. We learn from reflecting on those experiences. So reflection built into the whole process, into our daily living and thinking is very, very important. So every time with every work and over a period of time, reflection is important. That is built in again. Okay, through this month, I did this. What all did I like? What all did I thoroughly enjoy? Why do I think I enjoyed this? Or through this process of inquiry, this unit of inquiry in particular, what did I find really, really interesting and engaging? What exactly did I explore which worked, which helped me really, really do well? What mode of expression did I use really worked well? Which one did not work so well? And why? If I'm reflecting on all of these aspects, of course, these cues, these hooks, these thinking questions, very importantly, will need to be provided by us, the teachers, or rather, the better term now, co-learners. I mean, we moved from being those sages on stage to being facilitators of the learning experience to now actually being co-learners. We're learning each day. I think the pandemic ensured that we were all the time learning. And this beautiful process of everyone learning together, where students also collaborate to the learning for the teacher and the teacher equally collaborates, that collaborative zone does help cater or does help create that environment where the child genuinely feels that sense of ownership, where the child genuinely feels that my voice and choice is important, that all of this syllabus and maths to do and English to do and science to do is not being, thrown in on me. Oh God, I have to do this. No, all this is actually there. It's useful. And I like some of this and I like this part and that part and so on. And so I want to do it. The one that I don't like, okay, I am from my peer group, my parents, the more knowledgeable others around me, that, well, yes, it's going to help me in some way. So I'll try and push myself to do it. None of it feels like, oh God, I can't. Nobody in the entire time in this universe of learning uses a label which says, I'm smart. Even a label like I'm smart is really, really misleading. It's really, really limiting in multiple ways. So with that, I would close the thought, the talk. I can talk for a whole day on this, and maybe there are lots of workshops that we can do in detail. I'm not covered creative intelligence so much during this discussion, but I think emotional intelligence to an extent, and everything, yes, trickles down from assessment. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Vohra, for the thoughtful session. Since we are having 5 minutes of time, we can take one question from audience. Okay, so the question is: assessment is the major challenges in digital era. Okay, so can we see exams from the home in future? What your views on this one?
Exams are already happening from home, right? Most of the children have been doing exams online, right? But what is very, very key within that, we all have seen that, is the whole idea of plagiarism. I think it's important. Again, plagiarism should not be allowed. Academic honesty is really, really key. I think that's a skill we need to build among children. The minute we give control to the child in terms of ownership of my own learning, then any exam, which is a summative evaluation, will also be part of that process of learning. Then the child will believe in academic honesty because they will not worry about marks anymore. And the minute they start worrying about marks and that whole competing with others zone, rather than competing with yourself zone, which is very important, they will stop. They will be honest because they'll know this is for me, not for someone else. not to prove it to someone else. I'm learning because I want to learn, not because someone else wants me to get excellent marks. So I think that's important. And once we build that into the system, then yes, genuinely summative exams and the word exam, the graded word exam can happen from home also. I do see another question. I think I saw it during the panel discussion yesterday
Yes.
as well.
Yeah.
The
So the next question is,
sorry.
so we have a few more questions, ma'am, but the time is short. We should take it at offline. Okay.
Yeah, sure,
So
sure.
yeah, thank you, Dr. Vora, for this session. So here we are presenting the speaker certificate to you. Thank you, ma'am, for joining this session.